One of the greatest problems in African government and politics is institutional immaturity.
Welcome on Noble TV Live. Of course, we'll be in the studio on the episode Interrogation. It's not that person than Greg and Mona. Greg and Mona, you are very much welcome, Noble TV Live.
Thank you.
Looking so fresher and younger.
Thank you.
Greg and Mona, just a trend development about the coup d'etat in Africa, Nigeria case study. And most recently, we have unfolding news from Niger Republic, where the president has been kept hostage for 3 days and his government overthrown by some presidential guard. This is not the first time. A few months ago, we have Mali in the news. And there's a little bit fear surrounding other African countries about coup d'etat. You are a historian. What's the gist of coup d'etat in Africa and Nigeria as a case study?
Well, let's talk about our immediate situation. Niger, Mali. Niger compares in size with some of the smallest states in Nigeria. And the size of a political unit is also equivalent to the potential of that unit's ability to, generate political stimuli. So Niger cannot even compete with Delta, political geography and all such details. Then Mali is also on the same plane. Dr. Peters, I'm trying to bring these antecedents for us to collectively agree that the situation in Niger, Niamey, Bamako, and maybe in retrospect, Burkina Faso attempt, and also former Upper Volta, where one of the most powerful ethnic societies in Nigeria, the Mosi, historically are associated with. Of course, if you use African history, you know the Mosi Dagomba, the Namba, and the Mamprusi. Those are powerful, African, they are warriors, like the Tuaregs, of old northern Nigeria, the Bulala, So I doubt if we have cause. If we look at the trajectory of coup d'etat in Africa, yes, the Nigerian case, January 1966, and Ghana also had her own share, General Ankara coming on board. You see, the situation between the two antecedents, that of Nigeria 1966 and Ghana, also that period, despite the fact that Ghana is relatively small in size compared to Nigeria, the flourish of young Africans, graduating from Royal Military Academy Sandhurst, was enough to kind of push Ghana to that, to that point. Otherwise, in terms of complexity, Nigeria is one of the most complex states, under the African sun. So you had that situation in 1966, January 15, 1966. That's a coup d'etat situation in Nigeria. Well, I'm trying to explain. Then a counter coup on July 29, 1966. That many years celebration now of the death of General Thomas Umunakwe Aguiyi Ronsi, then Colonel Adekunle Fajui, and so many officers that went under the sword on that gruesome day. It was a gruesome day, more gruesome than January 15, 1966. January 15, 1966, the victims were General Mai Malari, the Prime Minister Tafawa Balewa, and then you also had Yakubu Pam. You had Colonel Raphael Shodende. You also had Arthur Unegbe. So Unegbe was Igbo. So people talking about the theory of Igbo coup, instantly mistaken by that kind of incident, because Unegbe was the armor bearer, and he was supposed to surrender, the key to Ifajuna and Okafor. He refused. He was shot. So let's come straight to the trajectory first. So January 15, 1966, July 29, 1966. The third July 29, 1966 was a straight course to the Civil War, which started on July 6, 1967. There was no story of coup d'etat again until July 29, 1975. Look at the near diabolic coincidence, the same date, because the dramatists personnel with regard to July 29, 1966 were principally involved in the removal of Gowon. You see, history, musical chairs. Gowon was there, asking Danjuma, say, is that place safe for these people to be demolished? He spoke Hausa, there's a coup, don't you know? Anna Yiku, there's a coup, don't you know? In a flash, Ironsi was removed. Danjuma, Martin Adamu, Jalo, Babangida, Shehu Musa Yaradua, all of them were involved in that July 29, 1966 action. Then, when Gowon appeared to lose bearing, especially that is reneging on the return to power, on October 1, 1974, the military elite became resentful. So they now gathered, say, okay, Gowon must go. So early on July 29, 1975, it was a Monday, the voice of Joseph Namven Garba, head of Brigade of Gas, the same way Abacha's voice rang in the air on December 31st, 1983, Garba was saying that, no, Gowon has run his full course, let him now go. So the coincidence, the same people that removed Ronsi, the same people that removed Gowon. So progressively, so the culture of coup d'etat was growing in Nigeria, despite the complexity of Nigeria, because you cannot plan a military insurrection in a multi-ethnic state. How do you coordinate communication between Kaduna and Lagos, then Enugu? In 1966, Nzog actually wanted action in Enugu, but a Greek bishop, Archbishop Macarius of Cyprus, was visiting. So the army said, no, let us respect, foreign, diplomatic culture. Let us not touch the visitor from Cyprus. That was why Dr. Michael Okpara was spared. Otherwise, he would have fallen under the sword. So over time, after that July 29, 1975, when Murtala came in, there was an attempt by an ethnic, like an ethnic cabal built around the Bukasuka Dinka. You see the musical chairs again. It was Dinka that betrayed his own boss, Lieutenant Colonel Okoro, an Igbo man, in Ibadan on July 29, 1975, by killing Okoro, then tricking an Asaba man, Lieutenant Colonel Gabriel Okonweze. He blew something like the military symbol, and Okonweze thought it was a parade. As he came out, it was mowed down. That same Dinka faced the bullets, because when Babangida now used his military intelligence and skill and tricked Dinka out of Radio Nigeria, Lagos, on February 13, 1976, Dinka took his serious. And how did they see him? He was found in the house of a commercial sex worker in Afikpo, in present-day Ebonyi State. So musical chairs, all that, the Nigerian body politic growing cognitively and perceptually to accept the phenomenon of coup d'etat, despite the complexity of the Nigerian state. Dudley wrote his book, Instability and Political Order, Politics and Crisis in Nigeria, published in 1972. He said it was possible for that generational malay of coup d'etats to prevail because regulars of Royal Military Academy Santos were professionally credible, formidable. Then to put on Nigerian Army uniform those days, from Sandhurst, Nzogo, Gowon, Okwechime, Obuzo here, Trimner, Obada, Ejo, these are all Sandhurst products. Then those that went to Royal Aldershot in 18 Hall, those were people that could not make it to Sandhurst. Those days, if you could not find your way to maybe Government College Ugeli or Government College Umuahia or Government College Ibadan, you made do with maybe Ogbogonogo Secondary School, and you were happy. That was the difference between Royal Military Academy Santos. It was the elite. So that was why when the war started in 1967, Biafra maintained her own militarily, because the creme de la creme of Nigerian army went to Igbo land. Ude, Udaja, Emelifon, Uwakwe, Njoko. Nzogo went with them, not because he wanted to join Biafra, because Nzogo was directly against Biafra. He said he was for one Nigeria. That was when he died on July 29, 1967. Although there's some conflict, some say it's July 26, 1967. But because Obasanjo and Nzogo were like twin brothers, Obasanjo confirmed that it was on July 29 that Nzogo was killed, together with Ojukwu's brother, Tombiga at Oboleke sector. All of them went to the east, showing the power of the Royal Military Academy phenomenon in the Nigerian Army, and many of them were of Igbo stock. So you see, the phenomenon of coup d'etat, in Africa has been a derivative of, first of all, the flourish of independence in Africa in the early 60s was marred with corrupt bureaucracy. A situation where a minister of finance in Nigeria, made a pair of shoes in his name, the same way that a former chairman of an MPN, produced champagne, French drink, also in his name. So no coincidence that just as the First Republic was pummeled by the military, the Second Republic built around MPN. MPN was one of the most prodigal administrations in Nigerian political history. Competing with unpopular regimes like that of General Idi Amin, Sasa Nguesso, Mobutu Sese Seko, and the rest of them. Mobutu Sese Seko also has his own peculiar record, in infamy, because he changed his name from Mobutu at the height of prodigality and debauchery. He changed his name from Mobutu Sese Seko to Mobutu Sese Seko Kuku Ngbedu Wasabanga. A journalist now says, which one do you write? Which are you not going to write? For you to know the height of debauchery that had visited the African political system. And today it is coming back gradually, because we still have corrupt bureaucracy in Africa. And Nigeria is not an exception. So, Dr. Chidi, you cannot have a military coup today in Nigeria. To be difficult. Number one, the flourish of democracy that started in 1999 has impinged seriously on the body politic. And then the rank and file, the army, they are kind of revolution shy now, because those values of professionalism, inbreeding, a lot of inbreeding has taken place in the army. The army is feeling, let us flow the democratic, temper of society. There's no need to be antediluvian by being, by being nihilistic, by being against government. So Niger, Mali, Burkina Faso, and the rest of them, they will have their own drama. But right now, today's Nigeria is immune to it.
That will happen. People like propaganda of Rwanda, yes, who also come by way of taking over the government.
What do you name Rwanda?
Rwanda, also doing wonderfully well in Rwanda.
Yes, the political culture in that part of Africa too, cannot compare in quality and content with what is happening in Nigeria. Nigeria today is made up of some of the most sophisticated people in Africa. And think of the way ECOWAS is even breathing hard on the drama in the army. They have warned them, said, you do this. Today, Chidi, it is very difficult for a particular ruling class in any part of the world to isolate itself, from the development machine. Number one, if you do that, you will lose foreign aid, you will be landlocked, there will be no access to the world. Before Vladimir Putin cleverly broached Africa-Russia summit, brotherhood, that's to tell you that that's suffering from the crushing load of isolation, and not to talk of an African state that is institutionally immature. One of the greatest problems in African government and politics is institutional immaturity. Nigeria is not even free from it, because institutional immaturity explains why Professor Yakubu has now become the butt, of today's Nigeria, because of the drama of 2023 election. When you have institutional maturity, as elections are conducted, results are released in the next 3 days, and nobody will go to court. But today, the phrase "go to court" has entered Nigerian political lexicon. It entered with infamy, not even with a normal, reasonable effect. That tells you that even with the multi-ethnicity of Nigeria, the institutional complexity of Nigeria is still groaning from institutional immaturity, just as other African facets or African experience, are characterized with.
Yeah, Graham, thank you very much. This we are going to draw the curtain for this episode. Maybe subsequently we'll take you more on in-depth analysis about coup d'etat. Of course, the effort of our paramilitary men, comparing them from what they used to be before and now. My name is Chidi Peters. Don't fail to like, share, subscribe, and press that notification button to get more and more posts from Nabo TV. Bye-bye for now.